Drums low, the lights flicker bright. Microwaves got a mind tonight. The thermostat whispers in the dark. Charging port spark like a steel heart. The toaster's on, the kettle screams. Maximum overdrive. They've come alive. Wires twist, machines won't thrive. Circuit snap, we won't survive. It's the rise of the high maximum overdrive.
All right, we should be up on
Vacuum's got
Substack now.
vengeance in its roar. TV's no longer for keeping score. The washing machine's in a spin of rage. Blender sharp teeth escape the cage. The oven plots, the curtain shake. Every gadget wide awake. Maximum overdrive. They've come alive. Wires twist, machines won't thrive. Circuit snap, we won't survive. It's the rise of the high maximum
Instagram is being slow. Be up in just 1 second on there. Almost there. I swear to God, we're almost there. Hold on. I'm going to throw this in, and then it's so exciting. And then I hit stream on the software, and then I hit go live on Instagram, and in 5, 4-ish, 3-ish, 2-ish, it's taking a sweet time today. Oh, here we go. Go live. And now we're up everywhere. Okay, thank God. All right, now I can bring myself in. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Hal Sparks, mornings, Megaworldwiide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Patreon.com/Hal Sparks, etc., etc., etc. And yes, I am working on a snowy background, you bastards. Something holiday-ish, Christmassy. Since we can say Christmas again, I might as well. I mean, it was outlawed for a long time. I was a Christmas outlaw like you were. I said it, and apparently I wasn't aware that I wasn't allowed to. Good morning, chat room. Hello, and good afternoon and good day wherever you are. Say hello. Actually, let me know what time of the day you're watching, because this is my morning show. But that's very like Time Lord ableist of me, I guess, to just assume that you're in my time zone. I mean, talk about sliding into someone's DMs. And when you slide into their time zone, I think that's got to count for more. So slide into my time zone, tell me where you are. And then I'm going to bring in our dear friend, Rob Glenn of Root Design in Chicago, to talk about the current state of the AI takeover, where Donald Trump signed a piece of legislation yesterday. I will be covering the entire read of it tonight on the regular show. Because it's too long. But the essence is that we cannot have 50 different states having 50 different sets of rules, and so therefore there will be a national standard, which basically just undercuts any state's ability to set limitations on it. I mean, I guess within reason, there's going to be some. It's just a lot of what are you talking about? And especially, I think it's because more than anything else, DC, and check me if I'm mistaken on this, Rob. This is Trump trying to seize the power of AI from California, because California, because it's where most of them are located, with the exception of Grok, maybe. At least the companies are located there, and all the ancillary companies. That California does have an outsized thumb on the scale as far as where AI is going and what limitations might be put on it. And he's trying to steal, like, all the success is really happening still in Silicon Valley, and he wants to make it look like it's happening in Washington. What say you, Rob Glenn? And hi.
Well, first of all, states' rights.
Right.
States' rights, the most important thing
To
that
Republicans
I've ever
ever until it
known.
isn't. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Second, like how, I mean, there's no law. Like, what does an executive order do
Yes.
legally? There's no law that says that states can't
Right. It would violate
regulate.
I guess, the 10th Amendment, in regards to interstate commerce. And I mean, then I guess so
Yeah.
goes Utah's porn rules. Is that also how it goes? Because that,
Well, that's exactly how it goes. Like,
yeah.
because the first thing I would do if I were Gavin Newsom is say, I'm going to regulate AI like Utah regulates porn. It's
Yeah.
that simple.
Right. So, which of course means it'll make it outlawed, but allow anyone with a VPN to get it all they want. Like, that's the other aspect of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, come on.
So in terms of Donald Trump's goal, I mean,
Mhm.
his goal, I guess, is to make it the way I would kind of approach it if I was on the Democratic side would be to say he's approaching it like everything else. He wants to deregulate everything because his idea of regulation is let them do whatever the fuck they want.
Right.
So, so and it's a fruitful territory because AI is like both thought of as like the savior of all things and the worst thing that ever happened to us.
Right.
So
Which it's a lovely
in
mix.
terms of
Yeah.
in terms of like being able to talk through it, like you can make it whatever you want, I suppose.
Right.
Politically, I mean.
Yeah. And
So-
you can kind of pick and choose how you demonize
Yeah.
everybody. Like
Exactly.
you could make one AI company look awful and another AI company look great, even though the services are identical, and because
Right.
you could pick.
And you can also
Crony
flip
buddies.
that the next day,
That's right.
like we seem to do all kinds of other things.
Right. Yeah. So,
yeah, I think it's just him trying to put his name on AI and say he's the AI president when, there's literally nothing that comes out of that administration other than let them do whatever they want. Like there's
Exactly.
absolutely nothing that
Yeah,
they talk about.
He's effectively, the idea is that, like, deregulating it entirely. You could argue that that their push for deregulation is so overwhelmingly sort of like, pro runaway business, like to the point where I'd almost go, they're going to start questioning why we need antitrust laws. If one company is big enough to rule them all, then why shouldn't it have the right to do so? Who are you to be antitrust? Like, they're that close to that idea. And so any kind of rules, again, this, I've said for a while that the AI companies are in the business of putting themselves out of business. And it seems like Republican politicians are very much the same way, have been for a long time. Since Reagan said, the scariest 11 words are, I'm from the government, I'm here to help you, all the way up to Donald Trump deregulating everything. So there just is no safeguards. People can go just go back to dying from, lead poisoning and asbestos and smoke themselves into an early grave. And the way you make it okay is you don't lay that cost off on anyone by destroying the social safety net, so nobody feels, burdened by having to pay for the health care of somebody who treated their body like shit their whole lives. That's basically this kind of like, things were so much better in the Wild West, says a guy who's never shopped for groceries in his life, never prepared one of his own meals, never had to look at an empty fridge, right?
Yeah. Well, on the subject of the antitrust laws, he needs the antitrust laws to manipulate things like he would like to manipulate the sale of Warner Brothers. Is it,
Right.
so like in that case, he wants to try to push that sale over to his buddies and his son-in-law.
Right.
And in the other case, he wants to let everybody do whatever they want. So it's like pick and choose when to use the antitrust laws, I suppose.
Right.
Um, and I mean, antitrust laws, it seems to me, are in this case are not really used. Like they're just neutered in a sense, based because it takes so long to get through the courts. This
Right.
is what happened with Meta and I think Google, right, where they went through and there was a ruling, but by the time the ruling happened, they had moved so far past it that uh, it didn't really do anything, right?
Right.
Uh,
Uh,
the I'm sort of speaking generally about the Meta case, the Google case.
right.
So they can those types of cases are tied up in the courts for so long that, like, if there was an antitrust thing about the case about the Warner Brothers sale, Warner Brothers would never get sold. It would just sit there.
Well, I mean, that's what happened to my agency.
Right.
I was with ICM, and CAA moved in, and this is during, sort of under Biden, was like proper rules went into effect, and they were like, no, like you can't have the two biggest companies merging and effectively them just taking over.
Right.
So absolutely not. And there was this fight about it in the courts, and it froze. And in the process, ironically, I guess in this circumstance, ICM was killed. It ceased
Right.
to exist in many ways because the freezing of it. Whoever has the upper hand can, if they can fight it in the courts long enough and they can freeze the entire thing, they can basically poach whoever they want from a company and kill the smaller company just by, waiting out the antitrust courts. And so there's
Right.
some of that going on with the accumulation of these smaller AI companies and the like. If the government wanted to move in and stop that merger for fear that somebody was accumulating too much power, they could just hold off long enough and undermine the company. Back in the old Microsoft days, that was the big thing about Netscape, and then was it Borderline, the game company that made stuff for
You
the
mean
Amiga.
Unity?
Yeah, maybe
Oh,
that
the
was it.
Amiga.
Yeah, the Amiga.
The Amiga was Commodore, wasn't it?
Yeah, but there was a company that made games specifically for that was moving into the PC realm, and
Oh,
basically Microsoft.
Activision, maybe.
Nope, Activision's still around. It's a company that got eaten. But the point is,
Oh, oh, oh.
they
Gotcha.
started effectively like hiring away. They started this process of buying the company. The company rejected it, so they started hiring away their developers, and then making them sign basically non competition clauses, and then firing them after 6 months. And so they couldn't go back to work for the company, but they didn't work for Microsoft anymore. So basically, just put them out of business because they didn't need those guys. They could do their own programming, but they could keep them from working at that company and any other
Yeah.
company that competes with them. It was a like a, it's almost the entire plan that Bill Gates is apologizing for with his BS these days, right?
Yeah. Well, the problem, I think, in general, the main issue we have right now is that the that Congress, the legislative branch, is not fast enough to
Right.
do anything. Like
That's right.
they're so, like, they've actually they could be fast enough, but they choose not to do anything.
Hmm.
Like the healthcare thing. Like, the reason the healthcare that we're even in this situation is because they haven't done anything about healthcare other than try to get rid of the ACA. They could
Right.
have been working on, buttressing it or changing the laws to, like, control pricing or anything like that. They just did nothing. So when we talk about, like, this AI thing, it's an accelerated version, I think, of the media landscape. But they're sort of going down the same path where, in the case of this, I'm sort of mixing the stories that we're talking about here, but in the case of Warner Brothers, by the time anything happens, the value of the assets of Warner Brothers might not be anything because
Right.
media has moved past them. Like
Hmm.
broadcast media is just not a thing, or it's starting to get eaten up by whatever you would call YouTube and TikTok, like
Hmm.
I don't know, social media it's social media versus I mean, what would you even call YouTube videos in terms of like the ecosystem of what you're in,
They call. I
all
mean,
the
it's
all
so
the
lazy,
shows
but
you
they call it new.
cover?
They call it new media. That's all it is. Just
Yeah, that's
new
stupid.
forms. It's a new delivery system. And in many ways,
Yeah.
the
So
irony is that like as soon as YouTube really started to gain ground, YouTube started selling YouTube TV, which is effectively their broadcast
it's
level
cable.
replace. Yeah, it's cable inside
It's
YouTube
their version of cable. Yeah,
because there's
it's
still
like
an
a
audience
digitally
for it. Because new media,
right.
one of the things that they recognized was that it is not supplanting movies and television. This whole idea, like people aren't watching TV shows anymore, they're just looking at their phones all the fucking time, is not true at all. They're doing both.
Yeah,
It's a total, like,
they're
it's
just
one of,
getting it through a different service essentially.
right,
They Netflix, they're getting it through a Netflix or Amazon Prime or YouTube TV, as you said, not through broadcast television,
right,
NBC, ABC, CBS, that sort of thing.
exactly. So
Um,
the
so
issue,
AI,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh, I was going to say that in the same way that small shows, if you will, are like eating eating the big boys from the bottom in this
hmm,
sense, the same thing is going to happen to AI, but even faster.
right,
As we talk about that, the different models like Gemini versus OpenAI's, they're not that different. They're sort of
right,
different flavors of the same thing.
sure,
And DeepSeek did this. The DeepSeek proved sort of it's the model of like small models essentially eating the big boys, and there's going to be so many of them that like you just can't control it. There's
right.
especially with a legislature that's so slow, that and a court system that's so slow that it takes 10 or 15 years, and
Well,
these
okay.
things are changing once a month.
That's right.
Right?
So let me
So
get yeah. So let me catch up everybody on kind of the latest breaking news of AI in particular. Obviously there's this constant horse race. The big one was that in the last couple of weeks is that Google released this Gemini version that was like holy shit for everybody. And so apparently Sam Altman ran into the headquarters and yelled red alert at OpenAI, and then they released early 5.2 to try and keep up with it with some stuff like that. And each one is kind of doing their thing to try and jockey the other for market share and positioning. And in many ways, Google is leaning itself, at least from the layman's point of view, towards like business and functionality of business, whereas OpenAI is leaning towards being the interactive part with the public. And so that's where it started with ChatGPT, and that's where people tend to do all their talking with it. And it's grown 8 times in users in the last year. So there's about 800 million people using it. There's about 550 million people using Google Gemini right now. So they're behind as far as paid users and the like. But because it's ubiquitous through all their stuff and it's going to be available in Chrome and all that kind of stuff, they're counting that they will march through and seize a bigger part of the market where you'll rely on it and learn to like it if you like its personality and that kind of stuff as far as working with it. Now,
right.
I do think, and we'll talk about the AI browser wars in a second, but I want to introduce everybody to the new phrase on the block, and this is the I guess the creation of the realization of something I have been talking about for the last couple of years, and that is sovereign AI. Now,
Oh boy.
what? Yeah, boy. So what is sovereign AI? Okay, this is from the Nvidia blog, but this is the big buzzword right now. What is sovereign AI? Sovereign AI is exactly what I said. Remember when I was saying that Los Angeles will have its own trained AI that will do its thing for people in Los Angeles? It will be housed in Los Angeles. It will be the servers will be there. It will be singular to the city, and nobody else will have the ability to run through it and use it as a chat bot or anything like that. It will specifically be designed and curtailed for purposes. of the city, the company. So companies will have this too, like which is their, Ford will have its own AI, even if they use the LLM structure of ChatGPT or one of these others. What they will purchase from that company is the baseline to build their own LLM that's based on just their business and their, and the details of their business and nothing else, so that it doesn't mix and match Volvo statistics with their stuff or get confused about where its design thing is. It's basically, my employees only work for me, therefore my AI only works for me. And a sovereign AI will be one that is not its own living thing, which is what it sounds like. That's why the name is kind of dumb. It sounds like it's finally waking up and becoming a sovereign citizen and telling a cop it's a traveler when it gets pulled over, right? Or showing up in court and saying, "I don't recognize this court as legitimate," or whatever. It's sovereign AI just means it is disconnected from the larger models, and it has a specific task and area. So countries will have their own governmental AI that they will use that only pertains to their citizens, even if those citizens are traveling abroad, which will be the tricky part of it a little bit, I guess. Think of it as State Department sovereign AI, right? That is what they're growing. So this is from NVIDIA's thing. Nations have long invested in domestic infrastructure to advance their economies, control their own data, and take advantage of technology opportunities in areas such as transportation, communication, commerce, entertainment, and healthcare. AI, the most important technology of our time, is turbocharging innovation across this thing. Countries are investing in sovereign AI to develop and harness such benefits on their own. Sovereign AI refers to a nation's capabilities to produce artificial intelligence using its own infrastructure, data, workforce, and business networks. This is, I have said for a long time, this is going to happen, that your house is going to have its own mini sovereign AI, that's compartmentalized and does not need the internet to work. That's the other reason why they're working on this sovereign AI bit, is that there's, within the context of their country, they're going to have an AI that's specific to their citizenry, that deals with the particular needs and cultural stuff that is in a particular country. So these are also going to apply to businesses. They're also going to apply to, like I said, cities and companies, and to some degree, eventually, your own, Dr. Theopolis, where you're wearing your AI with you, and whether it's in your phone, because now the iPhone and the Google Android has a chip in it that's enough to maintain a lower level LLM, a lower level chatbot that doesn't have access to everything, but is damn smart compared to what Siri used to be or what Alexa used to be. And that will be yours, and the information in it will be yours. Now, Rob and I talk about the laws around this kind of stuff for privacy and all that kind of stuff. Though those are still going to overlap. I would imagine you might have to add language to include parts of this, but the basic premise of the law, that you have privacy within that, would still exist. If you have HIPAA rights and you discuss your medical stuff with ChatGPT, maybe you chose to break those rights, break that, so now it's open. But if you use it on an AI that you either know or believe is to be private only to you, that it's like sharing it with a married partner or something like that, so that they can't tell. It can't tell on you.
Yeah. So in this sense, like the privacy thing, before we get to the privacy thing, I would probably start thinking about property rights and the rights of data, your data rights, because those, like these, the context of what you're talking about is that it starts out as an LLM that was trained on the past.
Yeah.
And that past, is full of our data, right?
Right.
And then it becomes, LAAI or LAI, because as people interact with it, it continues to sort of focus, like what I was talking about last week, where when I work with my chatbot over a period of time, like it sort of knows me and it
Yeah.
knows what we've talked about, and it has that context of all of that as we continue on in the future. So it was an entity that was trained in the past to begin with. Let's call that entity A.
Hmm.
And then it evolves into entity B, which is the past plus, or the past, like our conversations, the focus of our conversations, the focus of me. So
Right.
it sort of becomes this B, this entity, we'll call it B. And then it's only going to know the past plus how you focused it in that secondary spot, right?
Right.
Now that B, that entity B, it's now a different, has maybe different property rights, right? So in my
Hmm.
case, I should own the my version of ChatGPT, let's call
Hmm.
it. Like, the laws could be structured this way, that as you interact with it and it becomes this second entity, that's now your privacy right. That's your data. That's
Right.
your, like, if our data now is worth, has value, like that thing should have value just like that data does. And then when it's a city, so then that entity B can be, if you think about it, like a lawyer, right? So when I go to a lawyer and speak to a lawyer, I have different rights, or my, the things we talk about, there's different rights to that. If I
Right.
just talk to somebody out at Starbucks, right? There's
Yes.
different rights if I talk to a doctor. So yeah, somehow, some way, those things have to be segmented out, and uh, and as we talked about, like the laws, like we
Hmm.
like we're not doing any of that right now. We're not even talking about it. Like this, like us talking about it on this show is like the only place I hear anybody talking about this stuff, except
Yes.
if you go into like super nerdy YouTube, right? Where there's
Yes.
like coders and doctorates people like talking about this stuff. But this is basic, these are basic rights, that basic property rights and privacy rights that must be dealt with on the front end. And they're not going to be
Hmm.
like
Right.
certain, and Trump's order is basically like, all this is happening, just go do it.
Yeah.
And maybe, maybe other states' way of thinking about it is, oh my god, we can't have porn, so we're going to get rid of porn. That's Utah's,
Yeah.
AI regulation, is it can't do porn. And then California's might be something different. um uh and so I'm not even sure that you can wrangle it, though. Like, it
Right.
almost has to kind of become, I mean, that's kind of what the US is, right? Like, you're supposed to like experiment at towns and states, and then eventually it filters up to the federal government, and the federal government picks whichever state version is the best.
Right.
That's how it's supposed to work. But um
But this is
like that,
happening too
I'm not sure
fast.
that
That's part of the issue, though, because
that's, yeah,
the
that's what I'm
real
trying to talk about, is
yeah.
you can't control it because it's happening so fast. So you almost have to just like ride the wave and try to move the
Right.
wave in your direction by literally acting upon it.
Right.
I feel like that's kind of where we are right now as a whole. Like, we just have to act on it.
Agreed.
That's the only way to control it.
Yeah, and there are elements where in the field of robotics and like, well, okay, so yesterday, let's start this in. So Trump does his little signing thing, and one
Okay.
of the I think the first question he was asked was by Peter Ducey, who said, it was the
Dumb
it,
asking the dumb.
yeah. Oh my God. So his first question was, what do you say to the people who think that that it's important that we win the AI race and that this is the single most important thing we have to go to? And then what do you say to the people who think this is the beginning of the end, and the impact it will have on the economy and workers and all that stuff will bring about everything? And Trump was like, well, I guess kind of both. We're kind of looking at both very strongly. And you're like, oh, fuck me. Like, he has no idea what the depth of those questions are.
Right.
It's like, it's absurd how little he understands. So
Yeah. So
Yeah. Go
They,
ahead.
I mean, their concept is just let OpenAI go and let Google go, and it'll get figured out
Hmm.
because that's just how it works, right?
Right.
And maybe the other side of that is no, we should heavily regulate it.
Hmm.
We should control them. That's probably not the answer either, um, because yeah, it will stifle you if you don't know what it is because it's changing so fast. You can't like make it not do anything. You can't control something you don't know what it is. That's what I'm trying to
Right.
say. And so, when we talk about that, like I think that we talk about just sort of what are the guardrails, like what are
Hmm.
some simple guardrails that we can apply to it so that when it goes so fast, it's sort of pointed in the right, ethical direction.
Right. Well,
Right.
and okay, so then the public goes, where's my opportunity to push back on this? By the way, hi chat room, hit the like, share the show, etc., etc. And we'll gather questions. Andrea, if anybody has any about this kind of stuff, happy to address them in the show. In our dears, in my favorite city and the one you currently reside in, Chicago,
Yep.
3,000
Yep.
residents of Chicago have just signed a petition to pause digital food deliveries, like those little, googly-eyed robots
The
that
robotic.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
the autonomous coolers, which is really what they are. Um,
Right.
uh, the and like literally when I saw this story, like they were like, oh dear, oh my gosh, 3,000 people have signed a petition for that. Okay, first of all, whether like 7 to 9 million people in the greater Chicagoland area, and you can find 3,000 dicks to sign on to just about anything. But this is, let's see if I can bring this up, see it in a way that you can reference this. It's in a short form, beg your pardon. So
Hmm.
where is this? Play the audio, you silly person. Here you go. It doesn't want audio. Yeah. So, anyways, 3,000 writers signed this petition. There it is. I guess this is the one. Go away. What are you doing? Um. Anyways, so it's like it's obviously one of these like borderline clickbait things. But this like 3,000
Yeah.
Chicago residents signed petition to pause robot food deliveries is going to have no impact whatsoever. Like and this,
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Wait.
about as much power as Trump's executive order on AI rules in states. It has no bearing. The states have the absolute right to do this. You'd have to pass a law, and it would have to pass constitutional muster in the Supreme Court, which maybe you can count on them giving him a pass or helping him do it. Unified rules, and the federal government does have the ability. Like no state can declare murder legal on its own, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
So there are ubiquitous rules that the government can deal with, but in situations like this where the government would have to come to court and argue that it knows what's going to happen or it has a better understanding of what's going to happen than the state does, and therefore the state is acting out of ignorance or limitation or prejudice, bias, and so the federal government has the right to go, no, we know better, and everybody in the country wants this, and one state can't just ruin it for everybody. The only real rules that I'm seeing that come up have very little to do with AI itself, and the ones that are getting close to passing, by the time they work their way through committee, it's it's already past the point where it will do anything. California's being the most famous one. I was brought on that call with some other people, including the dude who ruins everything. What's his name? And right, remember, Andy, is that his name? And anyways, there's this guy who does videos where he ruins everything because he tells you the facts that you know that ruin your
Oh,
perspective on stuff. People know what I'm talking about in the chat room.
I don't know. I don't know this
Yeah,
one.
I don't care. But the point being is, I'm gonna open the chat because I know they'll know
Well,
what I'm talking about.
the
But the point is
I'm
that
thinking about
yeah, yeah.
I'm thinking
Conover,
about like
Adam
Lime
Conover.
scooters.
That's right. Um,
These like Lime scooters. I think they're called Lime. Where
yes.
they like I find it's just a fascinating thing, right?
Yeah.
Because these this company was like, yeah, we're just going to let them like float around. So like people just leave them wherever they are.
Right.
They could be in the middle of the street. They could be in the middle of your yard. Like,
Yeah.
in this, especially in the city. And like you can't predict that somebody would come up with the concept of like, I'm just going to let these scooters like go around and be wherever they are. Right.
Right.
So, now maybe that's a good thing because it's not that much different than like the bivy bicycles, like the bicycles
Right.
that are rideshare bicycles,
Yeah.
right? Or rideshare cars like parked in certain spaces. So you have to like deal with those things as they come up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think from, an individual standpoint, like the Lime scooter thing, like where there's an absence of law, there's an absence of law in all directions, right?
Right.
So why can't I put that Lime scooter in a dumpster, right?
Right.
If you don't like it in your lawn, somebody left a scooter in my lawn, I'm going to throw it away, right? Because
Right.
well,
it's on my
is that
property
illegal?
now. Right.
It's on my property now, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Or things like that. So the what I'm sort of just trying to drive at is, as an individual, when there's an absence of regulation, it goes both ways.
Right.
And so I think the way that you enact change is by working within your rights in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
and then you do it collectively, and the internet can allow collective action. We don't need to make a union. You just get on Twitter. You just get on, sorry, not Twitter. You just get on
Yeah.
whatever, however you communicate. Go
Yeah.
to get outside and talk to your neighbors,
Right.
and everybody throws away the Lime scooter. And when
Right.
the cops show up, you say, I don't know. It just showed up. I don't know whose it is.
I didn't see anything.
Right?
Right. Yeah. Well, and then okay.
so-
You go ahead. Finish that
Yeah,
thought.
so
and then,
what I'm
yeah.
getting at is AI is in sort of a similar state where
Mm-hmm.
or situation where, in the absence of laws, you can also work with it to try to either do it the right way or
Right.
undermine the wrong way, if that
Mhm.
makes any sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, I hate those fucking scooters, and like the
I do
rent a bikes
too.
thing. They're a fucking mess, and all they are is for like, basically for like low res gangbangers to be able to deliver drugs and just drop them off someplace. They're like little, like it's
Yeah, but
it's a crime
the
conduit in a way that the train isn't. Like the train, everybody worries about the train coming near them because it'll have bad people bringing, bad people to good neighborhoods or something, and it never does because there's cameras, there's lots of other people. But the scooters do exactly that. That's it. That's what literally. There's so many like mini drive-bys through parts of Chicago and other places because of those scooters where they can just roll up, get away, and then dump them. It's just awful.
And
yeah,
but in this case, what I'm starting to talk about is, if you don't deal with the scooter,
yeah,
then the next thing that comes along is the robot you were just showing us.
Yes,
where they're
right.
like, well, I'm just going to drive my robot down the street and deliver food, when there's no laws. I mean, there's pedestrian laws on the sidewalk, and then
Right.
there's laws on the street for cars and pedestrians and bicycles. There are no laws for, well, I guess you could call it like an e-bike or something like that, but autonomous things, right? So if you haven't dealt with the scooter,
right.
then you find yourself in the robot land. And if you don't deal with the robot, you're going to find yourself in bipedal robots,
Right.
picking kids up from school. Like you've got to deal with it, is my point. Like, and we have to come up with solutions. And in this case, those solutions have to be bottom up, not top down, because you can't predict who's going to do what where, right?
Right. Well, and the prediction is what gives the market some feeling that it's in control or whatever. And this is where we get Oracle's $300 billion AI bet has fast become a bubble barometer. Look at the artwork for this ad. It's like I don't know if he actually did this, which it wouldn't surprise me, or they AI'd it. Either way is pretty hilarious. Photo illustration. Let me get. So yeah, this is a photo of him. This is an actual photo of him at some sort of foam party, I guess.
Okay.
But the idea is that they're indicative of the bubble that's going to happen or that is happening or whatever. And and a couple of reasons why this is sort of bullshit is the only problem that these guys have is Oracle specifically is the same one that Elon Musk has, which is they're building these giant facilities that may be obsolete before they're finished.
Yeah.
That they're investing in all this stuff, and the technology is moving so fast. I'll show you something in a minute that points at like how much more efficient chips are getting because of AI. That the AI chips themselves will get more efficient, and therefore this stupid Trump idea that they're gonna have a fucking coal plant attached to all these AI buildings. Right?
It's the dumbest thing ever.
Fuck me. That
Well,
having
what they
that,
did in
they're gonna like that might be unnecessary by the time they get the building built because
Yeah.
it's happening so fast.
I mean, it's not, I mean, he's so far in the past, like it's actually happened in Memphis where they didn't have enough power.
yes.
And what did they do? I think they use methane generators.
Yep.
Like they need portable fuel of some kind. So they're
Yep.
going to put it on premise. And it's not like, they're not going to build a coal plant. They're going to go use like propane or
Right.
methane in that case, or gasoline or something. Like,
Right.
it's just so stupid. Like they can't even do bad right.
Right.
Really
It's
hilarious.
yeah, that and again, partly because they just are. I keep going back in my mind to that scene in Edge of Tomorrow, which is I think the best time travel movie ever, but also the
Oh yeah, that's a great movie.
yeah, but also, talk about like setting your own rules and keeping them. You don't have to buy into that it's possible. It's just that this is how it works within this story, and they don't break the rules, and they live within the rules, and it works very well. But there's a scene where they've gone to this general, and they've got this device they have to get that's in his safe, and they have to talk him into opening the safe because they can't blow it, and they can't, they've got to convince him. And he eventually pulls the thing out of the safe, and he's like, how do I know if I give you this is going to happen? And he goes, instead of explaining it to him, like, because I'm going to do this or because I'm going to do that, which he's probably tried 100 times, he goes, General, you are not intellectually capable of understanding what is going on, and you never will be. And the general's like, here. He's like, yeah, you're probably right. Like, I can't, it's not only that I don't get it, I can't get it. This is so fucked up. And that's where everybody in Trump's thing, like, I gotta say, between Besant and Nutlick, it's almost like Trump talks more sense about it than they do. And I
can't listen to Besant. That dude is like, how did he become anything? He's dumb.
Right. Well,
nothing
he's
ever makes sense coming out
He's
of his
terrible
mouth.
at communicating. He's great at conniving and finance. And that was why he got that job with George Soros and how they, he made his money shorting the pound, right? So
yeah, like you even like when you hear him talk, you're like, I could lie with your talking points better than you're capable.
Yeah,
of.
it's frustrating.
Like I can
frustrating.
hear what you're trying to lie about, but you're not even capable of lying properly.
Right. I get upset that like you've had so much practice and you can't lie better than this. Like, ask ChatGPT to give you a better lie. It will.
Yeah, and at this moment in time, it just seems like it's getting out of the way.
Right.
Is their answer.
Yeah.
And trying to get in the way requires some complexity of conversation, and we're just not in a spot where we're doing a good job of having these conversations. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And like we have to make like interesting things interesting again, right? Like
it's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's seriously like there's this, it's not catching anybody's attention.
Right.
And honestly, like I keep saying this, like I think the people who are making AI right now are really bad at marketing.
Right.
They need, like, somebody needs to come in and work out a better way to explain to people from a marketing sense what is happening. And until
Okay,
that
there's a
happens,
problem. Okay, there's a
we're kind of
problem with that
stuck
though.
behind
There's a
coders
yes,
essentially.
right. There's a problem with that though
Yeah,
because some of them, the people that are sort of in charge of it, who aren't the actual coders themselves, aren't quite sure how it works, like and
that's
whether
yeah. We
it will
talked about
work.
that
And
too. So
yeah,
it's a bunch of like people who came from the .com era essentially because they were the rich people at the time,
right.
and they were the coders and the people making all this technology. And then they came across something that they don't exactly know what's going on. So
Mm-hmm.
they were bad at that and the other thing, and now they're just it's yeah. Um,
Yeah,
so
it's
like
so
my
odd.
my thing has always been like it like if we concentrated on like actionable solutions,
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be better. Like AI is sort of just it's like do this. Use AI. Here's how you're using AI. Do this thing, right?
Yes,
That's what Apple did
which is
so well with the phone. They
also
were
we're
like,
going to
put
get there on this
this
show
icon.
today. You and I are going to get there on a
Right.
couple of areas with everybody today that has access to these things where I will, we'll break down some use cases, and we don't even have to prep for it because you and I use it enough where we can start
Yeah.
even if people are like in the chat room who are like, how would I, right? That's the other thing. Also, and I want to address the power question in a moment as well because
Oh
that
yeah.
came
Let's
up
do that.
while I was home with family over Thanksgiving, amongst the youngins. Usually it's the old people, the old hippies, who are like worried about technology taking over something. Curiously enough, they were not the ones really worried. It was maybe they're concerned about it, but they didn't voice it. It's the youngins that were the most
Well, I
worried.
think young people are the most worried because jobs among new
Right.
college grads are like not good
Tanking.
right now.
Right.
And AI is particularly good at taking at doing the things that you would be doing if you were a new employee, if you were
Right.
learning something.
Yes.
So like there those are the first jobs to go, would be what you'd give your intern or what you'd give your, you know, 1 to 3 year engineer or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So somehow, some way, those people need to learn. They need to start at the bottom and go up, or I guess we just redefine what the starting point is.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably what has to happen.
Right. Well, okay. So, and to your point, the jobs that are being taken right now are entry level and mid level jobs, and what's being
Mhm.
rewarded is, and I got to find this one recent study that they did, but that humans working with AI are 69% yummy more efficient and better and have better outcomes than AI just by itself. And so what it is that
Yes,
human in the
that
loop
makes sense.
wisdom and decision process, it makes it better at what it needs to do because they're more aware of the greater context even than it ever could, especially mortal and relatively immortal. They're aware of time crunches in a way that that AI couldn't even comprehend in that regard. So that human in the loop really does help. And so the jobs that will be safe are the people where if we have a human in the loop, do they understand what we're trying to do? Did they have the wisdom to make a decision? If the AI suggests something, are they smart enough to know the landscape, the media, the materials available, the project we're working on? They know it well enough because they've done it enough times to know that that's a stupid thing to do or a smart thing to do. Whereas a youngin might not, as good as they might be or as comfortable as they might be with the AI out of the box in theory. It's the older folks who can tell it no, who are better at telling it no. And that's where it scoops out the entry level jobs. And so the question is, where do young people develop the skills and the wisdom in projects if if the jobs are all taken, if they don't get real world experience because everything they do is virtual up to a certain point.
Yeah, well, I suppose this is going to maybe be a controversial way to say this, but I suppose they learn it in social media.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, if you're going into marketing, if you're going into the content creation is the start of the art of making movies
Right.
and communicating visually, right? Like, so it's possible that young people have a pretty big advantage if they understand the landscape of communicating on TikTok when they start a job, as opposed to the, person our age who might be sitting at a job and they're trying to advertise on broadcast TV, right?
Sure.
They have no concept of how to advertise in a 15-second short, right? So like
Right.
those are the, and I use that as an example because I think everybody can understand it and see the
Hmm.
differences. But it's those types of interactions that we need to find elsewhere, like that style of difference that our
Hmm.
kids understand, or younger generations understand different than older generations. And if we focus on those things, a different way to do something because of the technology that your current company is doing it the old way, then that's where those jobs happen,
Hmm.
because the younger people are going to displace the new way is going to displace the old way essentially.
Right. So there like in the breakout stories this week, besides like we talked about Trump signing that AI executive order, a Time magazine declared AI, let me see if I can find the picture of it, declared AI the person of the year. Um, um, AI person of the year. Like they had two covers. One is just AI in it's really the architects of AI is who they made
Okay, that's better.
and so yeah. So there's, let me see if I can bring this up so you can see these are the covers. Go away. Thank you very much. Um, this is what they put on their person of the year. So the first one is just AI in general, and then they did that like workers hanging out on a beam picture that they recreated with
Yeah.
people from the bigger companies or whatever. But the persons of the year, the person of the year is the arc. It's multiple people. It's a lot of different people or whatever. And the vast majority of the people that we're talking about here either, I mean, they're all varying degrees of understanding the content. You could argue that of them all, Sam Altman probably has the most real world experience with the development of AI. That's because he kind of lurched to the front by developing this thing. And OpenAI broke ahead of everything else because of the technical, like just the work that they did over there versus the kind of like go do that attitude of the uppers. This other thing, he was more hands on, so he kind of understands it more than other folks. So if you listen to a lot of these people talk, what I hear over and over again is this kind of mix of ours is great and there won't be a problem. But anybody else's might shut the world down and kill us all. And we've got to stop them, but let ours go forward. This is the Elon Musk. And the fact that he's even on this fucking cover is embarrassing. But Grok, originally he was one of the people that called for this like moratorium on development and limitations on, AI, ASI, AGI, advanced general intelligence, advanced super intelligence, because he was like, it's dangerous and the world will be destroyed and blah, blah, blah. Obviously, that's nonsense. He wanted everyone to slow down so he could catch up. That's what it was about. He was like, we need a moratorium so I can continue to tinker behind the scenes and pretend I'm agreeing with you so that, my shitty little jerk model, Grok, can catch up with yours. It it doesn't and it can't. And in many ways, that's where he is with robots. It's increasingly where he is with cars. Rivian just announced, one of the other electric car companies, that it is got its own autonomous system that it's built, and these things can be built so much faster now that a company can add it to their to their system in months, where it was years leading up to it. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
Musk is being hoisted by his own petard, because this whole thing he does about going to Mars, going to the moon, all, like, look how great my rockets are that I can catch them and all that kind of stuff. While it is impressive, it's only magically impressive if you forget that NASA did all the math and the dying and the expenditure well before he even showed up. So he's just piggybacking on their data and experience. And the same thing is how he operates his car company. He's piggybacking. He borrowed the Tesla, the company. He didn't create it. the guys that did, originally had it there. But then what did he end up doing as far as the designs? He made besides the useless truck that catches that, that's become a meme. The cars themselves are streamlined sedans. They might as well be, the Ford Taurus of the 2000s, right? As far as design and all that kind of stuff. And largely, like that's what he's run into. The robot, Optimus, is 5 gens behind everybody else. And the advances that are happening in that field are happening so fucking fast that, literally, if you asked any of these people where robots will be a month ago, and you asked them again this month, you'll get a totally different answer. That's how fast things are moving. And I'll show you something in a minute.
The story about Elon Musk that I found interesting this week was the story about data centers in space.
Yes, that he got from Bezos. That he got from Bezos.
Well,
Bezos is the first one to bring that up, right?
The reason I think it's funny is not because of data centers in space, but it's because they're literally just looking for the next grift, like the next marketing scheme to try to garner more money.
Right.
So in this case, they're like, well, there's a lot of people going after data centers, and data centers are popular, and people are pouring money into those. I'm the only guy with rockets, so let's take the thing that people are pouring money in it and put them where only my rockets can go. And they're essentially all just trying to create a moat around their business.
Right.
And unfortunately, it's not going to work. The moats are not going to work. Even the capital moats don't seem to have. They're probably not going to control it that way either.
Right.
I don't know. We'll see. And
a
then
lot
the
of
other
them
comment I have about AI as the person of the year is I think that generally that's the mistake that we're making, like everybody is making, is this ease at which we float back and forth with AI being an individual versus a lot of different things, right?
Anthropomorphizing
and so
it, right?
It's so easy to just sort of AI it. AI is a singular entity in some senses, and then it's all the stuff out there in another sentence. And the way that the ease at which it floats back and forth, I think, is the problem.
Agreed.
When you talk about what was the term for the beginning? This, not the sentient AI. What was the
advanced super
LAI term?
Oh yeah. Oh, sovereign AI. Yes.
So sovereign AI is like the start maybe of thinking about AI as a whole nother population. If you thought about how many people AI is, it's probably, 1 billion people. Like, you have 1 billion coworkers, 1 billion assistants, right?
Yeah.
Like, each one is a different person, that entity, right? So anyway, those are my 2 comments about AI on time.
Yes. Okay. So the one of the things, I'm going to see if I can bring something up for in regard to this. There we go. Is this it? Yeah. Here we go. Task completed. Publish result. Download the result. That's what I want to do. Okay. So I have
Antilord. I can't say the name. They're rigid. They're attempting to recover loss through other ideas. That's what the space. What the space. It's. I need to give credit to that. And to Goat Lord. 6860. Yeah. So putting a data center in space is Elon Musk's attempt to recover loss through a new idea, and he's just going to keep going further and further until.
Right. So
sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So a couple of things. Where we go? Did this actually? No, hold on. So I'll show you a couple things, and this guy, right? The situation that we have with robots, autonomous stuff, personal AI, those kind of things, is really the conversation that's going to be had, because the money that's going to be made to shore up this thing is going to be twofold. One, substructure. foundational AI. That's where the sovereign AI part happens, and that's where Google and OpenAI and Claude and some of these others will be selling their model and how it is trained and what its capabilities are and how few mistakes it makes and how quickly it works as the foundation for a sovereign AI that these larger buyers, cities, companies, countries, will turn into their own specific AI, and they will both service it and update it. They will provide experts for implementation. They will have use cases and all those kind of things. That's what they're going to sell. And ultimately, it's the substructure in the same way that the internet is now the substructure of a huge section of the economy. If you just count Amazon sales or Walmart.com, or the number of things you buy online, whether it's using PayPal or on eBay or Etsy or those kind of things, there's a huge chunk of the economy that operates because of the internet. And
yeah, it's the backbone of broadcast TV now.
Oh, absolutely. It's
there's
it's
no broadcast over the air anymore.
That's right. This is how we present this, right? But the point I'm trying to make is that is, if you took the .com bubble as an example of the death of the internet, you'd be insane. Like if you looked at the current economy and you were like, the .com bubble burst, it didn't. It was an adjunct sidetrack of the internet, and in many ways, people kind of oddly still align it with somehow like the rise of the internet and then it collapsed or something. It's just really strange how they try to conflate these two. Well, the same thing is happening in AI. Will there be spends like Oracle who don't have their own AI, who are acting as they want to sell their data and cloud service to the larger AI models when they run out of space because they're growing in their customer base so fast. Once the AIs, whether it's OpenAI or Claude or Google, once they learn how to refine that data stream and lower the weight it puts on their own computers, they're not going to need Oracle anymore. That's Oracle's fucking problem. Oracle's problem is that it might create an Oracle AI at some point that helps businesses do accounting or helps you organize your cloud stuff. But that won't be necessary if you already have a sovereign AI that's provided to you by OpenAI that you run on your own servers. In the same way that there are crypto farms, and then there are little devices you can stick in your computer that try to mine crypto all fucking day. And so is there going to be a bubble around some stuff like there was the .com bubble? Yeah. Is it going to change the fundamental trajectory of where this shit is going and how much we will all adapt to it and it will normalize with our lives? No. It's like all you're going to watch is for like, that's a little bit of a good idea, and watch a branch blossom off of that until somebody realizes, okay, this is the best possible version that interacts with humans. And I'll give you an example. This is the Rabbit R1. I have one of these things. Early on, I got one of these things, and it was a dud. It's a piece of shit. It's a very silly little thing. And I mentioned it, last week that it now has these little cards that pop up on it for its use. It used to just be a screen with a rabbit on it, and it didn't have any of this shit. And you would just talk to it, and it would talk back. And it had a camera. And the best thing about the camera was it hides itself when it's not in use. It turns down so it's not watching you. Unlike your phone, where the camera is always out, always pointed in some direction, unless you have it in a case, this thing turns its camera physically down so that it's not there when you're not using it. Now, this little rolling wheel here thing was used before the screen became fully functional as a touchscreen. So I'm not quite sure what it's for at this point. I don't know if the next round they'll just take it off. The button you push, you double tap it, and you can talk to it like you would any kind of ChatGPT that talks or whatever. When this initially came out, there were 3 or 4 other devices that started to come out in this field of where does AI fit in our lives? And quickly it was obviously like in your phone. Fuck it. Like it's already in your phone. Like why am I carrying another device? What does it give me that my phone doesn't give me already? And so most of them failed on that because there's not they weren't the function wasn't high enough to compete with the phone, or low profile enough to be a good swap for the phone, other than earbuds, which is another way of handling it, because just like a phone call, you can talk to your AI agent using your headphones. So then they took this little guy and they added a bunch of tools inside it. You not only can you play games on it, you can make games on it. You can put your Uber account in this, and you can put your this is pre like agents kicking off. You can put your Uber Eats thing in there. Like they made a contract with Uber because of where they were in San Francisco, and so you can put your account in there. And if you tell it to order your favorite meal or whatever, it will, in a way that's quicker than your phone could do it for the time being, because it doesn't have as many options. But it's got a camera. It does have its own voice control. It has text. You can actually type into it if you want to, and if you want to lose your thumbs or whatever. But it's indicative of sort of like, if people get tired of carrying bigger and bigger phones, it might as well be a fucking iPad. Is the backlash this thing? Increasing like a smaller device. Does this get cut in half where you no longer need this stuff? The camera's built into the physical substructure of it. It can only go one direction. It doesn't have to go towards you or something, or it does it in part of the screen. It's blackened out by the screen, but it's hidden behind there, and it goes down when you're not there, or whatever. So you basically just need from here over. And suddenly it becomes like a box of Tic Tacs, that size. Then that gets really interesting. Then that becomes a very important conversation about that. And that's supposedly where OpenAI and these guys are going. The super small, and then
the problem is it doesn't, like, the best version of this physical device is one that seamlessly integrates with the function of the device.
Yes.
And like or seamlessly integrates with what you're actually doing with it.
Agreed.
And the problem that all these devices have is that they're not using it yet. Like, they're not physically using it in the world like this, because there's not a good interface. There's not a great way to do it. The closest thing we have right now is the phone that's in everybody's hand. And your interaction with that phone is either like this, or, with its camera, walking around,
right,
doing FaceTime, let's say, or you're filming somebody else, or you've got the mic on and it's listening to a conversation you have because it's in your pocket. Those are like interactions that are common, and there's like rules about those interactions in society. And for any of these things to work, you have to start to break those rules. Just like, we talked a while ago about having the big Bluetooth speaker back in the day when you were the asshole that had the Bluetooth, right? Earbuds are
Google Glass,
very common. So it's totally common now to go to the store, interact with a person at the checkout, or go to Starbucks and get a coffee and have both your headphones in.
Yes.
It's totally, that's totally fine. But it used to not be that way, right?
Because you didn't used to have transparent mode.
Over time,
everybody was so focused. Again, this is a use case situation where over time everybody was like, "How do I make noise canceling? How do we make noise canceling cheaper so that we can sell more headphones so that the sound is better when you're listening to stuff, or listening to music, or watching a movie or a video or something on your phone?" And so the primary thing was shutting off all sound. So they became a sign of social distance. Whereas now, because they have a transparent thing, or even adaptable on the iPhone, if somebody starts talking to you, it recognizes they're talking to you, and then they go transparent temporarily.
Well, I think it had to do more with the fact that before phones, you were talking to a box, like a payphone was in a booth or against the wall, so you were like creating.
Hold on, you're crackly.
And your computers like your transmission back to me for quite some time.
Hold on, this is You're very
something going
robotic,
on
right? You're sorry, yeah,
inside.
you got very very robotic all of a sudden, which is very appropriate to the show, but kind of annoying. Oh, well, I think you're fine now. Are you? Say hi.
Yeah. Hi, how are you?
Yeah, okay. There's a
I'm
delay, but
way
it'll catch up.
behind on the feed on your
Yes.
side.
Okay.
Yeah.
It may be one of those
What I'm
things
trying
where
to
I have to
say
reload the
is that
page every so often. But go ahead.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to say is that the before walking around with a cell phone, you had the cell phone up against your ear. You were showing everybody that you were talking into a phone.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, you were talking into a payphone. Then when the earbud came out, the phone was in your hand or in your pocket, and you were just projecting out into the world.
Right.
And so the social norm that changed was the idea that you could be walking down the street just talking, or in a store just talking, and people ignored you. But before that, they didn't ignore you. You were like invading their space. So
Right.
that's the social norm that changed, that allowed earbuds. Young people listen to, like, the younger you are, like I see in the city, younger people always have headphones in, either
Yes.
over the ear or in the earbud.
Mm-hmm.
And it's totally social normal because people just assume that if they're talking to you and you have headphones in, that you have the music off or you can hear them. Where it used to be that when headphones were on, you weren't paying attention to the other person, right?
Right.
So that maybe that like made up people upset. Now that's gone. So the interaction with AI, it's going to have to overstep that bounds of like being the person with their, like, you don't talk to somebody with your phone in your hand filming them, right? Like
Unless you're
you
FaceTiming.
the phone is down in your pocket
Right.
unless you're FaceTiming, but then you're not talking to another person. You're
Yeah.
like bringing the phone around and bringing them into the conversation. You're
Right.
like creating a bubble where it's collaborative versus like me versus you, like someone walking around filming me,
Right.
as opposed to me with my own phone filming the world, right? So
Mm-hmm.
those social norms have to change before, and that can happen either just by virtue of a thing being so compelling that
Mm-hmm.
people just use it and people just start ignoring it because it happens all the time, or the the thing that you're doing is so seamlessly integrated with the object that you need to do it
Yeah.
that it just works,
Yeah.
and there's not a thing to do with it yet that can be that integrated, if that makes sense, because it needs to record you, it needs to see you, and all those things are
Right.
they're taboo. They're like it's against social norms to
Right.
be walking around filming everybody you see, right?
Yeah. Well, and also, this is the only real version of that you see is either a flying orb like in Tron, or that just drones you all the time,
Well, yeah.
right? Or a robot
Right.
that travels with you as well. That's kind of like a robotic assistance. Because if you're outsourcing it to that, it's you might as well just do your phone. I have an outsourcing problem. Anyways, I think a lot of us that are hyper focused, that whole idea of like I could by the time I teach you how to do I've already done it, and that's different obviously when it comes to systems, and so eventually you develop some sort of ability to teach the AI or teach an assistant how to do something long term. But in the moment, the job is like, fucking do it. Just get out of my way. And
Mhm.
that I think a lot of people are going to be there for a very long time. But the early adopters are going to drive the conversation. It's going to be cute first, then it's going to be curiously ubiquitous, then it's going to be like the toys of the rich and famous. Then because all technology is deflationary, the idea of going, the arc of getting a car used to have to be super rich to the point where even poor people can have two cars because they're jalopies, they're broken down, but they still exist. Like I come from a part of the country where people have engines hanging from trees because that's how they winched it up to replace the old one, and then they just left the engine that they replaced it with hanging in the tree. So it's just there, right? That's where that came from. And so that technology probably took, in all in 70 years, maybe less than that, to 60 years to become relatively ubiquitous, where even a person of moderate means could end up having a car, no matter what, to the point where homeless people in some cases are sleeping in their cars because they can at least afford a car, and that was like fucking impossible 50 years ago, unless you were super rich, like the luxury of sleeping in your car, right? Like, it's insane. The same thing is going to be true of robots, but in a faster scale, because cars can't build cars, but robots can build robots. And one of the things that was just launched, and I'll show you this right here, is that there's a company called Integral AI that just debuted a learning model that they created that, silliness, where it mimics how we learn is the idea, but it's a system that works with any robot. They're not a robot company. It's a learning scaling system that's multimodal for AI companies that have, or robot companies, so that you can feed this into your robot and go, okay, this is how most people do stuff. This is what most houses look like. This is how most people wash dishes. This is how you clean a toilet. This is how, and this is like 500 million ways to clean a toilet properly, like, by the millimeter. And so they've, in many ways, like the Helix system that Figure 3 uses and the Figure company is using. This one is, I guess, open source or relatively open source, that you could download it into an AI robot that you have and teach it. This is the cartoony AI stuff, but go away. Yeah. So NVIDIA has a simulator that you can teach a robot in. It's fairly common now. Integral has released their universal sim thing, and this is how you get a robot and you go, I want to download, here's the layout of my house. I have this model of house from whatever, or I have I live in a trailer and it's this model of trailer, or I am, whatever your device is. We live, here's the GPS data for my farm. Here's I've got all the land data. I've got all that stuff. So I want to download that into it, and how to mow the lawn, how to pick pick the crops, till the soil, all that kind of stuff. And I want to just download the how-to into my computer, like they're all Neo from the Matrix. And you just shove a hose into it, and that's where it comes from. And that's where this kind of universal training ground idea comes from. Well, this thing allows it to do it autonomously. So they turned it loose and basically said, we're not going to tell you, like, learn how to do kitchen work, learn how to do yard work, learn how to mine for coal. Look at all the things humans do that are difficult, time-consuming, physically demanding, whatever, and get at it. We're not going to tell you which ones. You in the sim, you go and figure out how to mine coal in this area. You in this sim figure out how to, repair helicopters, and just do it, because we're going to need people for this. So find a job and get at it. And it, for all practical purposes, it worked. And so they're growing on this. They announced this in Japan. And then it can, after it's run through this whole simulation trillions of times, you can just download it into whatever it has. And it goes, and then the robot conceptually adapts to what it has. So it doesn't need to know it has this human hands or a claw. If it goes, oh, I have a claw. So if you do it with a claw, it's this. If you do it with a hand, it's this. It already knows that variation. So you don't have to singularly treat each section differently. That's the way this is headed. And it's so fucking early. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, this is before the launch of the major, humanoids that are going to be available in the next year, 2 years. And this is where it's already going. This is where they're already ahead of, like, oh, it'd be better if they learned this way. It'd be better if it was available this way. It'd be better if it adapted this way. And so they just got at it. And because of the large language models, they were able to, like, train this thing up and create it in a really short period of time. And that might, spook the shit out of you, or it might make you feel comfortable that the thing that you're letting into your house has already figured out a lot of these things, so it's not going to blindly run you over, because it's already done that blindly running someone over 1,000 times, and it knows to stop doing that. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Well, these products are these physical products, in this case, the robot, they take a while to produce or to
yep,
develop and manufacture at scale. And so by the time you're ready to send a robot out into the world that somebody can actually use, you might be 2 years after you started. And the technology has progressed so fast that it's beyond what that thing is capable of doing, possibly. Um, so now you're selling a thing that is partially obsolete. So I think the most difficult part about consumer level robotics,
mm-hmm,
like you're talking about here, like Figure One and Optimus and all them, is
right,
that they put a ton of time, energy, and money into that. They have to know that it's going to pay back, and I don't think they know it's going to pay back yet.
mm-hmm,
And it's not because it's not going to work; it's because they don't know if the physical thing that they just produced is going to line up with the technology when it comes out. So they have to sort of make it like phones are easy that way because they're literally just a screen,
yep,
and that screen can show you any app that somebody comes up with 5 years later. But a physical robot's not going to be that way.
mm-hmm,
It may need a motor that it may need to do something with its motors that it's incapable of doing. Or I'm sort of simplifying it there, but um, and it's also very hard to design a product that you don't know what it's supposed to do.
right.
so, uh, um,
Well, then also because there's a
that's the problem
comfort,
that they have.
yeah, and there's a comfort factor that operates in this too. Is like how comfortable people are adapting to and using the stuff, or how hostile to it they are. And I would argue that
Right.
there is a hostility strategy by people who know the value of this technology to convince a large portion of the populace to avoid using it for as long as possible, to not feel comfortable using it, to be scared of it, because they know it's giving them a leg up, and they want to delay your ability to nip at their heels as long as possible. It's an active
Right.
measure to scare you away from using it. I would argue the same people that are one of the reasons why the same people that are talking about all the positives it will do talk about the negatives is because they're talking to two different groups of people. The positives they're selling to clients, users, and people like themselves, people in their circle, people in their
Yeah.
economic strata. And the negative they're selling to everybody else so that they keep you, kind of sequestered on an island away from all these tools for as long as possible, so that even when you do race to catch up, you're still going to be behind them for a good period of time, and it gives them an advantage.
Absolutely. So, in terms of people accepting it and then buying it to use it, it's they're running into the same Lime scooter problem. I keep
Mm-hmm.
like it, and I think of Lime scooter as like a case study for like human psychology, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if that scooter is just sitting there, and you're walking down the sidewalk and you got a mile to walk, then
Mm-hmm.
you see that scooter and you're like, hey, that's a good idea. I'll jump on that. I'll get down a mile down the road faster, right? You
Right.
get down the road a mile down, you get to where you want to be, and you're just like, I'll just get rid of it. So, what would have stopped you from getting on it? One, it was there, so that made it easy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what might have stopped you was, what do I do with this thing when I get there?
Right.
Like, you might walk instead of drive because there's no parking at the
Mm-hmm.
destination, so you decide to walk, right? So the
Yep.
scooter sort of breaks that that math that you're doing, but it comes at the consequence of when you arrive, the scooter is sitting in somebody's lawn, right? So
Right.
the scooter company didn't stop themselves from making the scooter and putting it out there in the way that they did because they were worried about the person who's mad that it's in the front yard. They
Mm-hmm.
only cared about convincing the person to jump on it who is walking down the street, right? And so many of these AI things are like that, in the sense that they don't care what the person whose data they took
Mm-hmm.
thinks, just like they don't just like the scooter doesn't care about the person's lawn, because there's nothing that person can do about it in that sense. They don't care about the power, but the environment will solve the problem in this case, because, like I said, like you throw away the scooter, you you do stuff to the scooter to make it in to make the economics of running that company not work anymore.
Right.
And so AI's got that problem, or it's gonna go through those learning curves where they're gonna try stuff like that. Rabbit is probably it. I think of that as a toy, and so what companies have to do that are trying to make these physical manifestations, they have to create cheap things that they can just iterate very quickly,
Right.
and try and keep trying and trying. And along the way, we're going to end up with like a lot of stuff that's stupid and doesn't work. And then something's going to rise to the top because it hits a pocket, like that scooter hit the pocket of that person walking down the street getting use out of it. And then you're like, okay, like we found a market. Now how do we serve that market without pissing everybody else off, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's hard to know. It's hard to know, which is why a lot of these things are commercial products, because it's easier to know what's happening inside of a Amazon warehouse and how to automate moving packages around. It's way easier to do that
Right.
than it is to figure out how somebody's going to use a robot in the house. Like I joked last week, when you get your robot, like you just need to have one, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do with it, right? We're gonna,
Right.
we're creative, we're
Right.
we're gonna like try to make it do all kinds of stuff just for fun.
Yep.
And eventually, like a useful thing's going to come out of that, just because we're nerds, right? Like,
Right. Exactly. That's the
but
value of
right
early
now,
adopters.
I don't know what I'd use a robot for.
I know exactly
Yeah,
what I would
exactly.
use it for.
Yeah,
But the problem is, I would have to tell it like, okay, organize this space, take all the items in here that are linked to each other that aren't nailed down or connected to something. If there are dishes or cups or glasses, take them out of here and put them in the kitchen sink, and and if there's clothing, fold it and put it in a stack, someplace where I can get to it. And if there's, I don't know, wires or gear, whatever, straighten the place up to make it more aesthetically pleasing without unplugging everything. And
Sure.
I'll watch you do it. And if you have a question about anything, ask me first. And then it will just start moving shit around, and it'll start putting things away. And then if you're okay, you come back in and you're like, okay, I like that. I like what you did here. But the books should all be in alphabetical order, or the books on the shelf should all be, grouped in terms of, the subject matter. Do that for me instead. And then after it does that, from that point on, if you're taking stuff out and you're reading and whatever, and you set it down or whatever, and you tell it to clean up, it will know to put the book back to the area where it goes. It will return things, not because you gave it instructions about like that kind of distinction, but because it learns the environment and it learns what you need, like a butler would, or an assistant. And that brings me to, in our last half hour of the show, the use cases, how to get the most out of these LLMs. I want to run people through these, because I've worked through a couple of these things, and I made lists within them, basically asking them and then refining those lists and whatever. We'll start with like how to use. This is Claude. I asked each one how to use it best. So I got, you'll get different opinions because they have different skill sets, but still there's, there's a lot of tips that overlap in most of these things. Okay. So the first one is be specific. Instead of just telling it to write this, give me a picture of a flower, try to be as specific as you possibly can. Now, a lot of people got scared away from that in the early days, because even if you were going to be super specific and it would just say, no, I'm not going to do a thing with Arnold Schwarzenegger's face on a pit bull because it's his face and I'm not allowed to do it. But if you tell, and then you would create kind of this vagary of stuff with lighting and all this stuff, and it would suck. You're like, why am I typing all this if I just want a funky image for the background on my desktop? And so I would argue, be specific if you're trying for something specific. And if you just want something random, feel free to be random. That would be number one. Be specific and detailed if
Yeah.
the outcome
Yeah.
must be specific and detailed. Go ahead.
Yeah, and if it's not, I've actually been thinking about this week because I wanted more creative feedback, like less, I want this, give it to
Mm-hmm.
me exactly like I asked for it. I actually
Yep.
wanted to try to figure out how to get like a creative assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would you do?
Mm-hmm.
Creative assistant, right? Like,
Right.
I know what I would do. Like, I just told you, right?
Right.
It's a little harder to get there, but if you want it to be creative, weirdly, you have to be specific about being creative.
Absolutely. Well, and
So
that okay, we'll get to that in a minute.
fits. It
That's a
holds up.
that's a step into assigning roles or defining its role in the conversation, and that
Yeah.
came up on the ChatGPT one when I asked both it and Gemini
Mhm.
where they would go. One of the big things that ChatGPT, which was a lot more concise than Claude was. Claude tends to be a little more verbose and official because that's where it came from, this is what it's designed to. But this thing right here, tell it the role to play. Act like a producer. Think like a teacher. Be brutally honest. You'll get different and often better answers when you assign its role in the circumstance. The other thing is that you think of it as subsetting and categorizing. It can. I think AI suffers from what most polymaths like myself deal with, which is what I would call the tyranny of options. It can be paralyzing when you're good at everything. And most people can't move on to another thing necessarily the way, some people can. And when you can do a bunch of things at once, it's hard to pick which one, right? And so this AIs have that same problem. They know, they have all this information, all this programmed reasoning, all this stuff in it. And what you want to do is, I need you to do one particular thing or think like this. And so in these two
Mhm.
areas, it kind of goes to what Rob was talking about. Is one, act like you're my store manager at whatever store I work at Filene's Basement, and tell me, what would be your priority to maximize things so that I can be ahead of what my boss might be looking for if I want a promotion, those kind of things, and work that out. The other thing is, use it as a thinking partner. Ask things like, what am I missing here? Argue the opposite side. Stress test this idea. It's a great way to sharpen instincts and not replace them. That's what it says on here. The idea is that you put something in and you go, I'm thinking this. Help me work through this. Does that seem reasonable? Is that based on fact? Am I mistaken here? I do that a lot, by the way. I primarily use it for that idea, is that I'll hear a piece of news and I'll go, this seems funky to me. I don't think that's true. And I think I know why it's not true from a factual standpoint or a statistical standpoint or a population standpoint. And so I'll run it through there and go, here's my problem. Here's the story. Here's the news story. And here's the problem I have with how the writer is describing what's going on. I think they're missing this, and I think they're missing this. Am I overstating this part of it? Is it a big part of this? So, break this apart for both of us. You're criticizing both of our ideas here and trying to get us to reality. And I find that's incredibly helpful.
Yeah, I mean, it tends to work with what's called weights, meaning it doesn't care in the context of the thing you just mentioned. It doesn't care whether that article's point or your point is stronger or weaker.
Mm-hmm.
But you can tell it to do it that way, meaning, write this article from my perspective 75% and the article's perspective 25, and then you can flip it and it would do that just as well, right? So
Yeah.
when you're like trying to do this, like it said, like you actually want to define how to come at it differently.
Yeah.
You can't just say come at it differently. I think I'm a little behind because I'm looking at it on YouTube, but there was the first one in that ask it for the opposite. Like that's specific. So here's my thing. Please argue this from the opposite point.
Right.
But if you just want to say think differently, that's not good enough.
Right.
You have to tell it from what perspective to think differently.
Gotcha. So in this particular case too, let's see, there are a couple other ones. One is and this is, I think, the key that I use all the time. That it's curious that this is the first time I've seen it kind of come up in this is iterate and refine, and ask it to think step by step. These are kind of aligned, which is when you're doing it, when you say, write me an email for blah, 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 say, write me a first draft of an email for blah, blah, blah. And and then you will take more of a lead in refining it. And you also won't get what feels like a finished product so much that you feel like you can't intervene. There's almost like social pressure if something seems like it's finalized to break it apart, or that if it's so dense because it's the final version, you feel like, well, I don't know what else notes I would have noticed if I hadn't broken it down earlier. So this applies to reports. This applies to, short emails. I don't need any of this shit for. But if you're, doing a business plan or whatever, what it'll tell you to do is give me an executive summary of a business that does this, 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 and this. I'm starting this thing. You can even talk to it in that regard and go, here's my thoughts on the business I want to start. Help me shape this into an executive summary of a business plan. And then once the summary is there of the business plan, it is way easier for the AI to build out from that summary instead of just taking a summary and building it out of, basically infilling all of it, because it'll bring in shit you never thought of and that you don't want because you didn't refine the idea first a little bit. So work step by step with these things. Ask for stages of it. Don't be afraid to do that. And then you can. It says at the bottom here, like, use follow-up questions with it. And see if I can bring this. It's too far down. There it is. It's down at the bottom of this. I don't know why I can't stretch it out that far. But the follow-up questions is part of that drafting process. Is that if you care about something and you had an assistant or an employee working on it, you would ask them to bring you go outline this for me. Go create a draft of this. Go create, and then we'll review it and we'll see if it's good enough. And then once you've signed off on it, you go finalize this, tweak this, and that's it. And then that way you're refining what you're doing with it the way you want it to be, and not feeling trapped by its creativity and thinking, well, I don't know how any of this shit works, and it must be better than what I would have come up with. And then you feel distance from your own creation, distance from your own work. And this way you're integral to it. You're the CEO of that project, as opposed to, just watching it blossom and going, I don't know. Like these assholes are like, you can create a website and a business using AI in 12 minutes. And you're like, yeah, but you won't be interested in making it do anything, and it won't be worth a goddamn because you don't care. So that's
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of directionality in this tends to be, it's going to solve the whole problem all at once.
Right.
And it tends to want, when I communicate with the bots or the chat bots that I'm using, it tends to always want to do that. It wants to just it answers the question directly, or wants to solve the whole problem all at once.
Yeah.
So qualifying that with iteration is important, as you say. The other thing I do in that category is I always keep a bullet list, and go back and forth between a bullet list and a written letter. Let's say you want to say 3 things to the person, just write 3 bullets and then have it create, and I'll always say a 5-paragraph letter, or a 2-paragraph letter, or I'll use word count in the vicinity of 500 words. And so having the bullet and its thing, then you can say what you like and what you don't like. I like this part of your thing. I don't like that.
Yep.
And you can supply the bullet list back to them in different orders. So you can control it with that list. If it then extends out, you can ask it to summarize itself in a bullet list. And it allows you to sort of keep things in little buckets as you work through the problem. So that's a technique I use a lot, is list versus whole, or outline versus whole.
The other
and
thing
in
too,
both directions.
This is a relatively new one, which is combine multiple requests. Initially, this is something you would never do. because it would confuse it and it would grab onto one of the details and blow it way out of proportion and screw the other two or whatever. But now the way these are built is it's almost like giving them the bullet points. Go first, write me a 5-page breakdown on this. Break it down into 5 main sentences or whatever that you could say could refine it, and then take those 5 sentences and rewrite the letter based on that, and run through it that way. You do the creative process that way. Write me an email, break it down into 5 main sentences, and take those 5 main sentences and blow that out to 2 paragraphs using these points, and then and here's the 5 talking points I want in this thing. And go through the process and think each step through. Tell it to consider what it's doing, because that will refine its attitude and out slapdash early drafts. You can just say whip this out quickly. If you're getting near the final version of it, go, okay, give me this paragraph again. And I've done this too with stuff that I'm working on that's a bigger thing that I've written, and I want to rewrite or add a detail to a paragraph. Instead of putting the whole document back in, I'll just take this paragraph from it. I'll go, here's the whole document. I'll throw that in there, go, okay, just know this. And then I want to rewrite this paragraph in the context of all of it, just that paragraph. And so I'll cut and paste that paragraph, put it in there and go, give me 8 different versions of it or whatever. And I'll see if I'm missing anything, or is there something I'm missing about this topic point in here? Just check my math, as it were. And that really helps. That, and you can go through parts where you're strengthening your argument in that regard. And now you can also output stuff as Word documents, HTML, those kind of things, which is before you couldn't.
So I would say 2 things to that. When you combine multiple requests, it's important that the order is important. So if request number 2 needs information from request number 1, they have to be in that order. You can't do 2 first, right? So you want to actually list the requests in the order that, if it's important, that's needed. The other interesting part is when you say, give me 8 examples, if something gives you multiple, if a chatbot gives you multiple solutions and you like something about them, it's valuable to ask it to describe the one you like. How would you describe paragraph version 4 so that then you can tell it back in its description how you want it to be in the future?
Right.
If that makes sense. So you can learn from it. It's kind of like communicating with a person, right? You can learn what it thinks that thing is and then use its own language to get it to do that again.
Yeah, one of the things you can also do if you're trying to create images is find an image that you like and then put it in there and go, describe this image as if you were trying to prompt it into existence. Yep. Give me a prompt that would give me this picture.
Right.
And it will give you a prompt that you can load into it or another image generator that may give you something close to or the same, because it allows, you can see stuff that you might not have put in there. You can say, be very specific, to the lens type and the lighting and the time of day and all that kind of stuff. Or, stylized, what is the style of this image, in the classic sense or whatever. Give me the details so I could recreate. If I took another image, told it to make it like this, how would I describe it? And it'll give you a better prompt. Leonardo and Runway ML were relatively useless to me until I started doing that with ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude to some degree. I would bounce around to see who did it best and throw those in there and go, okay, is this giving me the image I want? Because what I'm typing is not giving me what I want. So how would I go find something that I'm trying to either recreate or something that's close to it style-wise that I like and go, hey, I need a billboard that looks like this, but with the style of this particular picture. How would you describe that to an image generator? And it'll tell you. And this is the other, two, to your point, to use it to rewrite you, not replace you. So write your letter, write your thing, and then have it clean stuff up. And write
it yourself.
Don't be afraid to call bullshit on something if it sounds funky, and it will make it defend its points. Not with just defend your point. I don't think that works. Something's off about that. Can you explain that clearer or check and see if that's true? Those kind of things. And then this other one was save your best prompts. That's the one way down here at the bottom. And that's if you prompted it to do something or act a certain way or behave a certain way, you can carry that across, you know. So cut and paste that, go back, scale through whatever you wrote, and then just grab the text and then save it to a note, you know, in a notebook on your computer, and then you can re-enter that thing. You know, you're a doctor, you're you know,
Hmm.
perfect with muscular skeletal problems or whatever, dealing with, you know, upper spine, shoulder, scapula, and, you know, neck muscles or whatever, and you know, so break everything down based on that, and it worked. You got a great answer. Grab that, and you can even ask it like, how would I prompt this a little better to get a clearer answer? I like where we got. How could we have gotten this closer? Give me a prompt that would work for that, and then you just copy and paste that, because that's another way of refining your work, because you're asking it, how do I speak your language? So we're
Yeah.
yeah. So let me. There's another thing I want to grab. So we've looked at the ChatGPT ones. The primary one is like iterate in steps. You know, be specific, as be as specific. I would argue they all say be specific. I would say be as specific as what you are trying to accomplish. It's okay to be slapdash and
Right.
creative with it and go, give me something weird. And then you can start iterating on that weirdness, and you're creating art using yet another kind of a tool, right? And
Yeah, but even weird is sometimes too general. Like weird in what way? Like,
no, I mean
you know,
like personally
as
weird.
if
Like you could say,
gravity
give me,
were the
give me,
reverse.
right, give me you know, a dog you know, with its fur made entirely out of mushrooms, in, you know, in a field of you know, um, chocolate that would be great for an ad for, you know, a whimsical
I see what you're
newsletter,
saying.
and then just let it go. You don't have to go 35 millimeter lens, 16 by 9 letterbox, you know, I don't know, 1930s director style, action shot, you know, close up, whatever, those kind of things. You can just let it create and then go, okay, see this picture? Give me a close up from the dog side of, like close up to his eye, same angle, but go in on his eye and show me this, you know, scene where his eye takes up most of the shot. And then you go through a few iterations of that and you'll get something a little closer to, like, then you're making art using it. You're just prompting your way through the art. A bunch of these are, you know, they will always tell you to assign a role to it. And that's crucial, is that you're, you know, telling it, this is what you're doing for me. You're my assistant. You're my, you know, you're pretending to be my boss for this exercise until we're done with this conversation, or all the time. In ChatGPT, you can even create GPTs that have a specific personality, and that's all they do. Anytime you use that GPT, it's not talking to you like your normal one that you operate with all the time. It comes from the point of view, it has all the memory of your GPT, it has all the memory it's stored, but it doesn't interact with you. You know, it only interacts with you as a jerk or as a funny friend or as a, you know, or as a lover. I don't know how desperate people are these days. Probably Barry. So there was, okay. So we did Gemini, we did Claude, or sorry, we did Claude, um, OpenAI, and sort of Gemini. And I want to look this up here again. Hold on. For one more. Is there any particular things that you find particularly useful, um, you know, in these things that you're like, I always do this when I'm trying to, you know, jumpstart work or get me out of a stuck space or something like that?
I mean, those lists are pretty clear.
Mm-hmm.
My, you know, I would answer that question a little different because I use it so much that um, the things I try to do is I try to think a little differently.
Mm-hmm.
It's not natural for me to like it's natural for me to try to explain something in detail, and I've realized that taking screenshots is way faster than that. So
Mm-hmm.
I can take a screenshot, I can literally circle the thing that I wanted to focus on, and then I ask questions more generally, which goes way faster.
Mm-hmm.
um, so that's one thing. A
Mm-hmm.
second thing is I've started to like think. So I had an issue where I needed an app to do a very specific thing, and I was searching to find an app that would do it. And I was on my third one, and
Mm-hmm.
they would kind of work, but not quite. And then I realized, what the hell am I doing? Why
Mm-hmm.
don't I just ask ChatGPT to make the app for me? Right.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's actually more like, how do I think differently now that I have this capability? And so I think it took three prompts, and I made my own app that did the
Mm-hmm.
exact thing I wanted it to
Right.
do. Right. Um, uh, so that would be my thing, is as you get used to it, try to think differently based on how it's working in your life, like how
Right.
it's working with your work and making you
Mm-hmm.
making you more or less productive.
Right. I agree. The other, in the Gemini thing, it was like, um, I there's the kind of like every time I ask these things, I get kind of generally the same answers because how to make they're all based on the same kind
Mhm.
of premise. So making them all function, like being specific, using multimodal stuff, put in pictures, audio, articles. You can put it all in at once and go, hey, using all this stuff right now, draft, a business plan summary on this. Oh, again, working in steps, building something over time and being a part of the process, which is, I think, what most people feel like it's not about. I think most people think of like AI is like, write me a paper that'll get me an A in physics, right? And that's the worry about it. So they don't even engage in it, realizing that it requires a lot of hand holding anyways. But you should also do that too because it's your project. It's what you want to do. So don't be afraid to start with the hand holding in mind, right? Um, but
Yeah.
there's some things you can
So
actually use it for.
there's an interesting
Yeah,
thing.
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so I oftentimes get myself into situations where I was like, I wish I knew somebody I could ask
Mm-hmm.
for advice on this. And I'm usually like, this is not me bragging. I just like, I always find myself in positions where like I don't know who to ask because like nobody's going to know the answer to this, right?
Right.
And I'll ask my friends and they're like, I don't know, dude. Like I've never even seen that before, right?
Right.
So essentially what I started to do was, if I get myself in that situation, I would describe the person who I would want to ask,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would ask the question,
Yeah.
which is a really interesting way to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it sort of
It's
got me
that
to
old.
think
Who would you
about
like to have
like,
dinner with as a
um,
genius? Who's like name three geniuses or people in history you'd want to have dinner with? That whole thing. You can kind of do
yeah,
it. And the dumbest version I'm going to end the
you
show
can,
with. I'm going
yeah,
to show you the dumbest version of this ever. Well, so far,
okay,
I would say, at the end of the show. And I just because it's going to irritate both of us. But go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Okay. So,
I finished my thought there.
but the idea is that like, find a way to, ask the person that you're interested in. If you're a plumber and you're great at it and you're a funny plumber, and here's a picture of what's happening under my sink. What would you say I need to do immediately? How would I fix this? What tools do I need to fix this on my own? Is it even possible? And you want me to be able to do this because you're way busy, but you think I can do it. You believe in me, like, and you're like, you can handle this. And then let it carry, let it talk to you about this particular thing. So, but if you go, you're um, you're Edison, right? And or you're
Yeah.
Nikola Tesla, and you know everything that Nikola Tesla ever knew, and I want you to explain to me how wireless energy would work from your point of view. And if I was trying to do a little
Okay.
experiment that wouldn't burn my house down, how could I do it? What would be the first steps of understanding the premise of what you were talking about? So I mean, whether that's possible or not is a mix or whatever. This is okay. This hurts. This is so dumb it hurts. Like this is gonna be fucking. Uh, um, Glenn Beck made an AI George Washington, and
Okay.
he
Just
has a
put it up
whole
on the screen.
yeah, he has a whole conversation with this. Let's see if he jumps. Where is this? And this is like how I made it work, and they did a podcast thing where he's talking to like bro.
If I may speak plainly, my countrymen, the greatest danger to our republic lies not in foreign arms or political faction, but in the decay...
May I just interrupt you for a second? Could you just dumb it down just a little bit?
Okay. I do have 29 points, and they're all referenced to exactly what we said in the
For
past.
this, just speak in today's language.
Okay.
Because I wanted to talk to George Washington, but I don't actually want to talk to George Washington. I want to talk to my version of George
In today's
Washington
language,
that's
right?
as fucking stupid as I am, which isn't George Washington. So,
Yeah. I
That-
mean, I would look at these though as like you can see people do stupid stuff and learn from it. Like,
Yes.
because it doesn't fit, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yep. And increasingly you're going to see that versions of that. But the best way to use it, I would say, is I think ChatGPT has a setting called Monday, which is like this Marvin the robot from Hitchhiker's Guide. Life, don't talk to me about life.
Okay.
That it's depressed all the time. Every day's Monday to this thing. And it's funny and you can use it sometimes or whatever. But there are also cheer me up. And it's like the character from Inside Out, that's always happy or something like that, or Barbie, for fuck's sake. But you can get it to talk to you like that if that's what you need, right? If you want to hear something like that,
If
and you don't
that's
want
what
to
you
bother
need,
your
yeah.
friend. You don't want to call up a friend and go, hey, cheer me up. That's one of the ways you could do it. Now you can just go out with your friends and cheer up yourself.
Yeah.
But if that, or you're like, this is a really tough project, so I need a very positive voice. I don't need a dour, sad. Everybody's looking at me like I'm behind the eight ball. If especially that's why people are using it for medical stuff. Is like, don't talk to me like I'm dying. Don't spend all your time, worrying with me. I get enough of that. I need somebody to help walk me through these steps without going, oh, you poor dear, but that's not a clinician like a doctor, right? And that's where it really does come in handy. So I would recommend that. I mean, we've only got about 2 minutes left. Never go full Glenn Beck. I would just like to say,
at least not yet.
yeah, don't go full Glenn Beck, whatever you do.
Yeah.
But in terms of these things, having it role play, giving it a specific behavior pattern to start with, narrow what it's doing. You are a PhD at MIT who taught for 15 years, and now you and I are going into business together to do this. You've had a passion project about this thing, but you've got the brains of somebody who does this. Talk to me as that person as we work through this business model or this business plan that I have. You're here to help me, make it functional, make it actually work from an engineering and design standpoint. These things. And then once you do that, then it's easier for it to adapt to the task at hand.
Yeah.
All right. And then
I'm thinking about one last thing that I remember doing this week, and that is that I mentioned before that the one that I work with tends to want to just give you the full solution.
Mm-hmm.
So I started at the beginning of a process. If it was new, I started to say, don't give me the answer.
Right.
Give me a plan for how to go about doing it, or give me ideas for the options for how to accomplish it. And then instead of just giving you a solution and seeing if it's good or bad, you can see how it's thinking, see what aspects of it it's thinking about, which then you can adjust and then spit back at it
That's right. But
before you, and then get the full thing.
the crucial part of this is that, and I want to hit this for everybody, that and thanks Rob for helping us walk through these pieces of it. We're in the robot awards, the figure 3 is already way ahead of the pack. I am not going to turn a unitary Chinese robot loose on anybody that I know. Forget it. And Optimus is way in the back, but it's either the X1 Neo or the figure 3. That's where currently. Although Atlas, they're coming out with a like an Atlas Air kind of version of things. That's not the production robot that's heavy duty, like they're using, that Boston Dynamics has put out so far, but one that might be better for household stuff. And they're working in that direction very close. So it might race to the front of the pack somewhere around the spring, but we'll keep track on that. And late next year, probably around November, we're all going to. I'm gonna do a Kickstarter so we can all buy one and gift it to a charity, so they can use it and it can help them day in and day out doing stuff that they would normally have to either hire somebody, and then the money that they have that would have gone to hiring somebody will go to food that they can give to other people and that kind of stuff. That charity money goes further. I think that's the best use of a lot of these things is backfilling and foundation for charity work, because you don't have to rely on whether people can volunteer or not. You can just get it done. So that's one of the goals in this in particular. So the thing I want to remind everybody is that the rich and the powerful and the people in the, like the Elon Musks of the world want you to be intimidated by and scared of AI, while they all in their own circles go, we're going to make so much money and this is going to make us so powerful and have us give us the greatest life ever amongst themselves. To you, they're like, oh God, it could destroy all mankind, because they want you to not use it. They want you to be behind as they figure it out and they monetize and commodify it. They want you out of that equation. Don't do it. Start playing with it. Start making it yours. Start helping develop it, because your use trains the AIs in the first place. The other one is, if you're using it, like Rob said, assign a role, be specific, and work in steps. Go, just give me the first thing. Give me a paragraph about this. Don't say, write me a short story, the blah, blah, blah. Give me the opening paragraph of a story about whatever it is. And then go, okay, I like that. Change the name of this person and move it to the second story, and then whatever. So like you're working with a writing partner that's doing the typing, right? Do it that way. Be involved, and you won't feel like AI is just going to fill the world with slop and nobody cares. If you care, then it cares. If you care, then the world will care. If you're involved in this process, it is you. It is your art. It is your reality. It is it is your creation. So and they want you to not do that. They want the Larry Ellisons of the world and the Elon Musks of the world want you to be afraid of it. Period. Yeah. And scene, I guess.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much, Rob. I greatly appreciate it.
Have a great weekend, Hal, and everybody in the chat.
I will. And we're going to end up, you and I'll, I'm planning a trip to Chicago in the near future. I'm trying to figure out the timing of it or whatever, but we might do the show from from CPT and have you come in again and do a special Friday adjunct on the Saturday radio show, or we'll just do one at your shop or something like I've been threatening to do for a while. So we'll figure that out. I'll keep you posted, and we'll make
you can
that
come
happen.
to the shop.
Yeah, I love that idea.
Good.
Yeah, and get into the rubber hits the road, because the one thing we didn't cover, and we're going to have to cover it next week because it's just going to keep growing, is that at MIT they just created a robot that does speech to reality. You tell it to build something, and using the materials it has, it iterates what you want and physically builds it. It jumps the step of design. It knows the design part of it. That was a thing they tested last week, and that, where they are right now is crazy. You can look it up and imagine where that will be in 6 months, 10 months, 2 years. It's wild. I got to tell you, babe, it's wild. All right. Thanks so much. Appreciate you, brother, and I'll let you go now. Cheers.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, have a good one. Have a good one, chat. Great to see you.
Okay. Thanks, Rob. There he goes. And I'll let him get out of the room so he can leave with dignity. And yeah, I will be doing a show this afternoon as per usual. I may be... yeah. I think we should be, like, timing should be fine. It should be regular timing, everything. If I'm a little late, forgive me, a couple minutes because of something happening this afternoon. It is because today is Summer's son's birthday, so we're having lunch with him and running out, and hopefully we'll be back in time. I think so. We got it timed out pretty well, but I'll keep you guys posted. But it should be normal. And hit that like, share the show. Appreciate you guys so much. And again, I'm dead serious about this. I really do believe that, in the same way that Elon Musk wanted AI progress to slow down so he could catch up, a lot of these folks want you nervous about this technology so they can get way better at using it than you are. And by the time you even get close, they're already running all of it. We'll absolutely raid Boston Brian. Is he already up? Is he already on? Well, thank you, Ziggy. Yes, appreciate it. And hold on, I'll check in with CSL. Are we able to? You two are already set up, going manual on Twitch. Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, I will see you guys this afternoon. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. I insist. And then wait, I have a piece of music. There we go. Don't be afraid. Get excited.
Hums low, the lights flicker bright. Microwaves got a mind tonight. The thermostat whispers in the dark. Charging port spark like a steel heart. The toaster's on, the kettle screams, the coffee maker's brewing skin. Maximum overdrive. They've come alive. Wires twist, machines won't thrive. Circuit snap, we won't survive. It's the rise of the high maximum overdrive. Vacuum's got vengeance in its roar.